Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. It is the 12th of May, 2022, and we are ready for our devotional time with author E. Stanley Jones, one of my mentors. He passed away, went to be with the Lord in 1973, but before that, he was a wonderful, effective missionary in India for 55 years. And the writings that he left behind are very, very, very useful for anyone who's interested in trying to understand what it means to grow spiritually. And the title of the book of devotions that we're reading is Growing Spiritually. What does that actually mean? We're reading, meditating together on these things. The devotional today has this title, A Deliverance from the Present Evil World. You can get a copy of this book on Amazon, Growing Spiritually, E. Stanley Jones, and Growing Spiritually, and I would hope you'd add that to your library for your own personal benefit. A Deliverance from the Present Evil World. A deliverance from the present evil world. Each word in that title has significance. Let's read it together and walk together with this idea of a deliverance from this present evil world. Each one of those words we're going to try to define listening to him. He says this: we meditated yesterday on the first of three deliverances in the atonement, the work that Jesus did on the cross. Deliverance from past sins we talked about yesterday. Today, we come to the second deliverance from the present evil world. I question whether there is anything that keeps the Christian from growing so much as the present evil world, the herd. And he divides this present evil world as the herd. For growing means departure from the herd, or the people of the world and their opinions and the way they organize themselves. For growing means departure from the herd, a lifting of your head above it. This the herd tries to prevent. Society demands conformity. If you fall beneath its standards, it will punish you. If you rise above its standards, it will persecute you. It demands a dull, gray, average conformity. But the Christian is a departure upward. She gets out of step, for she hears a distant drummer. She is no longer an echo. She is a voice. She is not a thing. She is a person. The herd dominance is broken. The herd dominance that comes over all of us in society is broken by Christ. How? How does this happen? Not by running away from society or running away from the herd, not from running away from it. For now she goes more deeply into it, not by fighting it. For now a new compassion for the herd, for society, comes over him, not by encasing himself against it, for he is now more sensitive to its needs. He gets rid of it, the power of the herd, by surrendering the herd to God. Just as a man can be a self-centered man, so he can be a herd-centered man. He is a captive. There's only one way out: the surrender of the herd or society to God. Then God is God, not the herd. You no longer belong to the herd. You belong to God. But belonging to God, now the herd belongs to you. That's an incredible statement. Let me read it again. But belonging to God, now the herd belongs to you. Delivered from its control, you are free to go back into it, emancipated and free to serve it. And he begins some illustrations. The day after I was converted, I went to the barber shop where I had always played cards with the gang. Instead of joining them, I sat in the barber's chair, took out my New Testament, and began to read it. When I came across the passage, "What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" I read it aloud. "Read it again. That's a good one of the gang remarked. I could now contribute to them, for I no longer belonged to them. The 3 steps I took past the card table to the barber's chair were 3 steps into freedom from the herd. Oh, Father, I thank you that when I belong to you, then everything, including the herd, belongs to me. I'm free. Amen." And his affirmation for the day, "The herd surrounds me, but God surrounds me more deeply and more intimately." This is an amazing statement, and it's because of these kinds of statements that I have become to put him on my list as one of my mentors, because he says things to me that are not easy to hear. There's a part of me that reacts to what he's saying here with caution and maybe with a little bit of disagreement. But now, after many, many years observing my own behavior and the behavior of people around me, I can tell you that I think that he's absolutely right. Sometimes I don't want him to be right, but I actually believe that he understood this and I needed to understand it. Let me give you a few of the things that I think that he clarifies. To be delivered from evil. To be delivered from evil is not to leave this world. It is to be free from the control of a system that is evil. So we need to define what evil is. If you open your dictionary or you look it up on Google or wherever you go to look at a definition, evil is defined as that which is profoundly immoral or wicked. And I guess that depends on who you're talking to in this world right now. But if we look at what it is to be delivered from evil, we can remember that Jesus says that we should pray this prayer: "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." What does that actually mean? I have come to believe that evil is a pervasive tendency to create a list of people that I do not have to love. It is to create a list of people that I can reject, cancel, give names for them that are epitaphs against them. Evil is a tendency that we have among us as humans to decide who deserves our love and who deserves our care and who deserves our best. Evil is when we reserve the right to exempt from our behavior love toward that person or toward that group. It's evil. It is not consistent with the character of God. The herd around us, the society around us, will often create a list of the people that are worth loving and the people who are not worth loving. All you have to do is go to the history of the world and look for times when society gave permission to hate. Society gave permission to diminish. Society gave permission. But now here's where it gets more personal. I can be evil, and I have been evil, because I have also taken it upon myself to keep a list of those that I give myself permission not to love, perhaps because they're different than me, or perhaps because they offended me. And what he's talking about here in this deliverance is a new kind of freedom is available to the Christian. It is the freedom to rise above all of those lists and let God decide what needs to be done to deal with the herd. That's not my job. It is not my job to hate the herd or to offend the herd or to go after the herd. It is my job to rise above and become free to love, fully free to love. And that full freedom to love also includes the going back to the herd as love. The voices of the herd give us a permission to suspend or stop the flow of love toward others who are not our herd. They're not our group, so we're free to hate. We're free to give them a special name that demeans them. And this is an evil. This idea of having permission to hate is what we are delivered from. And we're delivered from it not just intellectually, we're delivered from it so we can go back to them. And that's what he says. He says, you go back. You go back. And you even love your enemy. You turn people over to God. You turn all of the authority over them to God. And then you go as a representative who is free. Now, you may be persecuted. You may be isolated. But you still understand that you are free. If you look at Jesus and the way that he went to the cross, you can clearly see that for God so loved the world, this society that has this tendency to evil, and the people like me, like you, who can be evil, and decide who deserves love and who doesn't deserve love, and withholding love from those who may need our love, or certainly need our love. And then he says, spiritual growth is this deliverance from the control of the society around us in which evil manifests itself, becomes an ability that we have to go back to the herd. It's interesting how he says that a man who is free, he says, not running away from it, not fighting it, not encasing himself against it, for he is now more sensitive to its needs. If you are growing spiritually, you will become more sensitive to the needs of the people who do not agree with you, of the people who perhaps hate you, or those who have offended you. If you are actually becoming delivered from evil, then you will locate the list that you have of who you feel free not to love, and you'll hand the list to God and say, this problem is too big for me, but it's not too big for you. Lord, awaken in me love and deliver me from a list of justifications or names of people that I can say, I have no need to love them. I have no need to go toward them. This is very radical. And it is, I think this is why he says at the beginning that probably the greatest barrier to spiritual growth is the maintenance of lists of people that I give my permission to myself, or the herd gives me this permission to not love. And if I'm going to follow Jesus, I'm going to have to get rid of those lists. I think that's what it means to carry our cross. We get rid of the list. We love and leave the outcome to God. We love and forgive and go in the direction of the pain, and we live the outcome up to God. We are free so we can love. You may need to read this a few times, several times. You may need to take this and grapple with it for a long time. I've been grappling with this particular statement for a long time. And each day that I apply this wisdom, I feel more human and I feel released, because it is a burden to keep lists of people that you hate or people you refuse to love. It is a great burden. Be delivered from it and go forward. Think on that. I'll travel to Portugal on a flight tonight. I'd covet your prayers. I'll be in Portugal for 18 days, working with leaders and retreats and other events. And I'll still continue to do these readings, but the timing may be a little bit different. But each day, Monday to Friday, there should be appearing here on the Facebook or later on in YouTube, our reading of this devotional literature with Stanley Jones. Hey, have a great day. God bless you.